And boom, we are live for a brand new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and I'm joined by Seth Weintraub live from New Orleans. How are you doing,
Yeah,
Seth?
I'm good. I don't know how my internet connection is going to be for this, but I'm ready to go.
He's streaming straight from a 5G phone, straight from his microchip in his left
Vaccine.
vaccine. What's your 5G phone?
It's an iPhone Max, whatever.
The
12
new
Max.
iPhone? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's jump in. We have quite a few news items to discuss this week. We're going to start with a few Tesla news, and then we're going to deep dive into a few more general EV news items that came out this week. But let's start with this exclusive that we had at Electrek earlier this week about a new 420 watt solar panel coming out of Tesla. So it hasn't been officially released through Tesla's official channel on its website, but we managed to confirm through third-party installers, which now Tesla has for solar panels. So for a while now, we knew that Tesla had third-party installers for the solar roof tiles, of course, and even Elon recently mentioned that that's actually a big part of the acceleration of the deployment of solar roof tiles. But these solar panels, which still accounts for most of Tesla's solar business, was mostly installed by Tesla's own crews that came out of Solar City. But now they also now Tesla is basically trying to position itself as a just owning the ecosystem of energy at a home. And Tesla was already partnering with other solar companies to install their Powerwall, of course. But now that they also released their solar inverter, they have more of the hardware ecosystem, especially the intelligent part. And that if you want the integration of the Tesla app, the Tesla Energy app, too, everything all connects together. And now they added solar panels to that. We doubt that Tesla is producing it itself, or it's almost impossible they're producing it themselves. Some people are also questioning whether they designed it or not, though they do have some features on it that comes from Zep Solar, which, if you remember, it's a company that Tesla, that Solar City acquired, and then Tesla acquired Solar City, so acquired Zep's technology in the process too. But the more headline worthy part of that new solar panel is the power. It's a 420 watt panel, and that's pretty rare for the residential market. It's something that you will find for commercial solar installation, but for a residential one, it's pretty high. For example, Tesla's last panel that they use, well, actually they might still be using it, because if you go on the website and you configure a solar installation from Tesla, you get a 340 watt panel. But again, from third-party installer, we were able to confirm that Tesla started offering these panels to them, the new Tesla 420 watt. There's also mentions, if you look at we updated a spec sheet that you can find in the article on Electrek, but they also mention a 425 and a 435 panel in there. So something to consider too, but we haven't seen any mention of them from third-party just yet. Few interesting thing to mention on it: the all black panel. Tesla is big on aesthetics, of course, and also the Zep system to install the panel on the roof makes it very, very flush to the roof. So there's no gap in between it and the roof, which obviously looks better, especially combined with the all black. The efficiency is 9.8, nothing crazy.
19.8.
Sorry, yeah, you're right, 19.8, which is still nothing crazy in the solar panels. You have panels available now that are over 20, even some common panels in the higher end that are closer to 23, 24% efficient. But the efficiency is not everything. The efficiency will allow you to squeeze more power on a smaller roof, really. But if the space is not really the issue, then this panel is probably going to reduce costs here, because Tesla is going to have to use fewer panels per installation, since a single panel is 420 watts, which a lot more than 340. So you can just install a handful of panel and get a 4 kilowatt system. Yeah, but we don't have any indication of cost just yet, because again, it's not on Tesla system, so you have to get the third party installation, and then that also includes like the cost of installation and everything else that come with it, not just the actual solar module. But we're going to keep an eye on that for when it actually becomes available on Tesla's website.
Yeah, so just to clarify, it's a bigger panel, same, relative efficiency, but it's easier to install because there's fewer to install. But like you're going to need a bigger pallet, and it's probably going to take up similar amount of room on the roof, but just easier to install.
Yeah. Also, it's 420 watts, so it's 420 friendly, which has a big impact in Tesla community. So we'll see.
Do you think that was an accident, or do you think it was?
I mean, what was strange to me is like the spec sheet that we did obtain right here does have the 425 and the 435 too, but there's no indication that Tesla is shipping those just yet. So we're focusing on the launch of the 421, but we could have phrased that differently if you wanted not to be a little bit less clickbaity.
Right.
Yeah. By the way, if you now at the bottom of every Electrek article for now, we have this little ad of our own shirt here, designed by yours truly. Well, design is I came up with a concept, and then we have our own graphic designer, Michael Bauer, that did the heavy lifting. I just came up with a concept, which is you have 9 electric vehicles on it, electric vehicle of note, we call them. You can have plenty of argument about which EV we could fit in there, but I thought it was cool, like just because not a lot of people know the history of electric vehicles, just how far back it comes. And we started with the Thomas Parker car, which actually was launched in the 1800s. A lot of people don't know about that. And up to the early 1900s, there was a bunch of electric vehicles available. They were actually dominating the car market for a little while. And so each of the little design, you get the profile of the design, and you get the name and the production years of the vehicle. And of course, straight in the middle, we decided to include the Electrek vehicle, which was produced in the early 80s for a brief moment.
Yeah, and just incidentally, that wasn't why we named the site Electrek. It was just kind of amusing that we've got a similar.
We've found out about it after the fact. And now there's like a little resurgence of that car. Like I think a bunch of people started buying them and trying to refurbish them and put them back on the road. And yes, there's one guy in Colorado that actually has a driving one now. Is he in Colorado?
Yeah, the whole Unique Mobility was the name of the company, and since then it got purchased. But they were all in Colorado Springs, which incidentally, there's like a big battery community out there.
Yeah,
which may or may not have been from that. But it's a unique car, and I don't think aesthetically it's amazing. But
that's the understatement of the year.
It kind of reminds me of a Pacer, like a AMC Pacer, which of course didn't win any design awards, but it's an electric car from the 70s, so
but
a couple hundred of them.
One of my criteria for choosing, because I chose all the models that went on there, was also having a unique profile will give you more chance to, like, people ask, like, why did you put the Cybertruck on there? It's not even on the market yet. I do think that the Cybertruck is going to be an impactful car in the US, especially. That's also why it's there, but also it has a very unique profile, so it looks cool just to be on there. But and also big thanks to Michael for designing all those profiles. That wasn't an easy work. But yeah, now you can find it on our Teespring side, but you just go on any Electrek article basically, and at the bottom you can click on this,
and you can also get these shirts too.
Yeah, these are also on our Teespring. Just a bigger, if you just want to let people know that you read Electrek, which you should. You really should. Completely unbiased comment from me. All right, sticking with Tesla Energy, we got kind of an interesting data point about the Powerwall, which, as you know now, has to come with a Tesla solar installation. They are not selling them on their own anymore. And funny enough, the comment came from Elon during his trial in Delaware right now over the SolarCity acquisition. We haven't talked about it too much because, honestly, it's not that interesting. Other than Elon being actually on trial and having to testify in front of court, that's really the only interesting part. But the lawsuit is is not as interesting. It's basically some Tesla shareholders suing Elon, and they also sued the other director of their board member over the acquisition of SolarCity, which those shareholders claim that Elon forced the acquisition on Tesla for a price higher than it should have been, and that's pretty much it. So the actual court case revolves around, did Elon actually have control over the acquisition? Because officially at that time he was chairman of the board and CEO, but that doesn't necessarily give you control over the company. And he officially recused himself for the discussion around the acquisition, which he first proposed, and then he let, of course, the shareholders had to vote on it, and they vote with a strong majority to go through with it. So there's not really that much of a case, in my opinion, on there, because the acquisition made sense. Now you could argue that the price of it didn't make that much sense. There may be an argument there that Tesla could have paid less for it, but and to be fair, all the other board members that were defended in the lawsuit ended up settling the lawsuit for $60 million. Elon was the only one that refused to settle, and on the sides of the board members, they settled for $60 million, which was covered by their insurance, so they didn't have to pay anything, and they didn't admit any wrongdoing in the settlement. So it's kind of a nothing burger, really. But yeah, if they can prove that Elon was in control of that deal and forced the deal on the board, and that the board members had no say in it and whatever, then yes, Elon could be on the hook to pay back Tesla for the acquisition, which again would also be a nothing burger for him. It's like 2.6 billion. It's not nothing. I'm sure he doesn't have that cash on hand, but really, what will happen, which is so stupid, like if you think about it, if the shareholders win here, Elon will probably have to sell some Tesla share to reimburse Tesla, which is completely crazy. But that's where we are. Anyway, during that, although his testimony throughout the week, he made some comments about the reasoning behind the combination of the two business of SolarCity and Tesla. And the main one is, like, we have those Powerwall that work great with the solar installation. And if we have a solar installation company, we can completely integrate those products and sell them better and make them more efficient, which is what Tesla did, of course. But then during those testimony, he actually released the first time that we have like the backlog of orders for the Powerwall. He said that there's currently about 80,000 Powerwalls on order. And he also said that he believes that Tesla can only produce between 30,000 and 35,000 this quarter. And he did say that currently the bottleneck for Powerwall, which we always thought was battery cells, is actually the chip shortage right now that is causing Tesla issue with the Powerwall production. But yeah, this is a big deal. I mean, 80,000 Powerwalls is a lot of Powerwalls. We just discussed and we just discussed Tesla's significant ramp up of Powerwall production, because last year, in May of last year, Tesla announced that they deployed 100,000 Powerwall. And so that was throughout the first 5 years of Powerwall installation. It took them 5 years to install 100,000 of them. And then last May, they announced a 200,000 Powerwall install. So over the last year, they installed 100,000. So 5 times faster than the first 100,000 Powerwalls. And now Tesla is installing them apparently at the 30 to 35,000 units per quarter rate, which is pretty good. More than 100,000 per year.
Yeah. And they're not even pushing them, really. I mean, they're just at the store. And recently, we noted that you cannot get a Powerwall without buying solar now. So, clearly that was part of the, we can't make enough of them quick enough. But they've always been like that. My Powerwalls came months and months and months after, they were supposed to. Like, I would say years after they were supposed to.
Oh, yeah.
And we ordered some. Before the referral ones came in, we ordered some, like I would say 2 years and never got any. So they've always had a problem, first with batteries and now with the chip shortage.
Yeah. And they increased the price of it too, obviously didn't affect much of them on it. People still want it. And if you look at the home battery pack market, just the mind share of it, Tesla completely dominates that. Like when you think of a home battery pack, you don't think of the LG Rezu, I think is the name. Like I can barely remember the name of it. Actually, no, the LG ended up recalling all those on top of it because of their stall problems. I don't even know if they sell that anymore. But
there's a company out of Germany called Sonnen that has Samsung's got them. Panasonic even has their own. But nobody's going out to find those unless there's solar installers will have their own options. But
even SunPower, which was is the biggest, I think, residential solar installer in the US, for the longest time was only using Powerwalls. I think they just now announced their own product because I think since Tesla announced that they are only selling the Powerwall with solar installation, I think they're probably moving away from that. Though Tesla didn't clearly say that they won't sell to other solar installer which come with solar, but it would make sense for Tesla to prioritize their own solar installation combined with it, because that's the thing. 80,000 Powerwalls is not 80,000 homes getting solar. Most projects have more than one Powerwall. I don't remember exactly what is the per kilowatt of solar, how many Powerwall you want, but you have you have 16 kilowatt of solar, and you have how many Powerwall?
I have almost 13 kilowatts of solar, and I have 2 Powerwalls, and I probably should have got more.
Oh yeah.
So, and it's the Powerwall's about how much you use during the day versus at night, and there's a bunch of other calculations that go along with it. I mean, it's fine. We can kind of go forever without power, but we have to scale back our usage of the dryer and the oven, the electric oven, and the pool filter and all that stuff. So 2 Powerwalls we can totally get by on, but if we really wanted to go off grid, if we needed to, 3 would have been better.
That makes sense. All right, this was big news too. Yesterday, Elon kind of huffed a cough on Twitter, which he often does, announced a significant upgrade for the Supercharger network. He says that Tesla is currently upgrading the Supercharger network from 250 kilowatts higher power capacity to 300 kilowatts, which is a decent little upgrade here. Of course, not quite the over 350 that he discussed back in his child's toys comment back in 2016. We don't know what happened since in between, but still between a jump from 250 to 300 is still decent. Now, he didn't elaborate too much on that. We still need to know. So first of all, what car are going to be able to take that, or the latest Model 3 Model Y vehicle able to take over 250? I think the new Model S and X would make sense. Probably that's probably something that the timing of it, the release of those new cars, the upgrade to 300 kilowatts for the Supercharger network, I think it would make sense that Tesla has built in the capacity into the new cars. And also, you have to remember that Model 3 and Y for a long time had that power capacity advantage over the Model S and X, which made no sense since those were the higher end cars in Tesla's lineup. So maybe now those cars are going to have a tiny 50 kilowatt advantage. But of course, we always talk, we say that Tesla was kind of slipping on that front. Tesla always had the charging lead, the fast charging lead, always had that. But in terms of total power capacity, it lost that in the last year or so with the 350 kilowatts from other automakers and other charging networks now that are deploying those. But Tesla always still was seen as the leader because of just how extensive the Supercharger network is. The fact also that Tesla cars are more efficient than other long-range vehicle, which makes you, even having a lower power capacity, still gives you a better miles per time of charging. But yeah, now they're catching up with that 300 kilowatt charge rate. But like what I just said, it all depends on the actual charging session, what it looks like.
Yeah, that's a great point. The if for instance, Porsche Taycan can charge at 270 kilowatts, but it's only got 200 miles of range on a huge almost 100 kilowatt battery. So charging miles per hour, Tesla still schools the Taycan. Also, a big factor is the charging curve. So, like for instance, a Ford Mustang Mach-E can charge really fast, when it's empty. But as soon as you start getting the 20-30%, it goes down. So that's another big factor. Although the Hyundai Ioniq 5 seems to have a pretty good charging curve, like it stays high for a pretty long time. So it's going to be interesting to see how. I don't think we've seen a really good comparison between the new Model S and the Hyundai Ioniq in terms of charging. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, well, though for sure, there's more battery pack to charge in the new Model S than the Ioniq. What's the size of the Ioniq pack? Kind of blank.
Can't remember. It's like 70, 75, something like that.
Yeah. All right, that happened last weekend, but we didn't discuss it, of course, because the last podcast was on Friday. But Tesla did stick to its timeline of releasing FSD Beta V9 on Saturday. So all the early access, all the vehicles in the early access program have received the update, and that screen is frozen for some reason. All right, it's back on. Yeah. So what we see here is the visual update. The driving visualization has been updated. It looks a lot cleaner than the previous version. A lot more like production ready. Less of a debug mode like the version prior, and also great performance from it. Like so that's a beautiful rendering here of a three-way intersection. You get very clear lines of it. You get drivable surface that you cannot drive over or clearly indicated, and you can also see the path of the vehicle, and that shifts as you drive too. You can see and the driving sensation have always been like a confidence builder for a driver, but using Tesla Autopilot, and now in this case Tesla FSD, and I think this is the biggest confidence builder yet, because it looks beautiful, really. You can of course follow a bunch of we posted videos from a bunch of early access owner that are posting their experience on YouTube with it, and so far so good. It looks like there's still problems with it, like always. It's not perfect. You need to be careful and pay attention, but it does look like an improvement with the vision only system. However, the system is still broken down in between. You have the code for the highway, the autopilot that everyone has now with the Tesla. Well, not everyone has, I should say. The newer car has. If you still have a radar in your car, so if you're older than a May Model 3 and Model Y, then Tesla still hasn't updated that. But for the newer cars, already is on the road and wider release. But they're operating with a different code for FSD, and they hope to match those two together for the wider release, which, he said in a month or so, but you know what that means. We never know. But so far so good. Looks pretty good. I'm looking forward to try it myself, and I'm just worried knowing what happened with Autopilot at first and how people abused it and everything. I just don't want that to happen with already being called Autopilot. It was a problem. Now you can imagine being called full self-driving and not truly being full self-driving, and people abusing that. And we criticize a lot of the media when there's an Autopilot accident, and they say full self-driving Tesla crashes and things like that. But and I still think it would be wrong to write that when FSD is a wide release and there's a crash and everything. But you cannot blame them too much when the actual feature is called full self-driving.
Yeah,
Tesla is taking risk with that.
It definitely seems further along. It feels more, closer to wider release. I still have issue. For me, it sounded like Elon was saying you get the button and you're allowed, if you're a beta tester or if you're just a normal FSD purchaser, you get to choose to click the button or not. And I thought that was what was coming. So as a first full self-drive purchaser, I'm a little bit bitter that can't drive with full self-driving right now.
Yeah, especially if soon you have like a long trip to do or something. Like there's still a lot of value in it. Even if you have to pay attention, it still alleviates some of the driving requirements. I mean, not necessarily driving requirements, but I mean, I know when I use autopilot, I feel more relaxed. I
For
still
sure,
pay
yeah.
attention, keep my hands on the wheel, but I know that for the most part, like it's gonna at least keep me in the lane. I just have to watch out for like that's 90% of driving. It's like watching out for the idiots. Like
Right.
that's basically it. All right, we're gonna move on from Tesla. Oh no, we did have Elon commenting on that release. Sorry, a second. There's one thing that Tesla, the new update does is that it doesn't just and it's really important since you remove the use of a radar. Now radar was good for detecting object, accelerating, decelerating from a distance and everything. Now you do that purely on vision. And what vision is good too, though, is it can detect like turn signals, can take tail lights and everything. So human eyes, when we see a car in front of us decelerating, most often than not, we're going to see the tail lights before we actually detect that the car is slowing down, which is actually, believe it or not, why tail lights have been invented. So this is very a visual sign that's very important. And now Tesla Vision apparently detects that and even renders it in the driving visualization. So when someone saw that, asked Elon that's great, and then Elon said yeah, and not only that, the turn signals are coming, so that the Tesla Vision will also be able to detect the turn signals. So it's going to be able to predict to a degree, of course, that the car wants to turn. But even like humans, we okay, someone put their flasher on, but you still have to because people like leave their flasher on for no reason and things like that. But the other thing that a lot of people have been talking about, and I remember you mentioning that recently, when it comes to emergency vehicles, yes, Tesla Vision is going to be able to detect lights and things like that, like flashing lights from an ambulance or a police vehicle. But you said that we also, as humans, listen to the road and can hear sirens. Now, Elon also said that the system is going to be able to hear and listen for sirens, which is an interesting development. I'm not exactly sure how that will work.
Yeah, are there mics on the outside of the car, or is it going to listen on the inside of the car?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you don't necessarily have to have mics from the outside of the car. I mean, you don't right now. You listen from the inside of the car unless like your windows are open or whatever. But I mean, and sirens are pretty strong. You can get inside the car. He even mentioned that the vehicle is going to be able to detect hand gestures. So that should be useful for like if you have like a police officer, like a broken traffic light, a police officer that is signaling traffic. You can apparently Tesla Vision is going to be able to detect that and respond to those comments. Or a cyclist for the cyclists that still use the hand signals like that. It's pretty useful too. Well, so we'll see if how that works. But yeah, that's pretty much it for our Tesla news this week. Then we have a few other news items. But if you guys have any questions that you want to ask us or some topics that you want us to discuss, put them in the comment section right now, and we get to them in about 15 minutes. Rivian today sent me a little email as a reservation holder, not a fun one, confirming a delay for the deliveries of the first R1T electric pickup trucks. It was supposed to come this month, but we already halfway through the month, and there was no signs. I talked to them also earlier this month because I was looking at their support page, and the support page was saying like, "Oh, if you're a Founder Series reservation holder, which I am, you're gonna be contacted by a guide, Rivian, like Tesla advisor, Rivian as Rivian guide, they call them. You're gonna be contacted by them for delivery between July and November. No, they said by November." And I thought that was weird. By November, like deliveries are supposed to start in July. So I contacted them and said, yeah, it's still going to be between July up until November. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I didn't report anything. But then, sure enough, a few weeks later, now it's actually a letter from the CEO, RJ Scaringe, sent out a letter explaining that they're going to have to push R1T deliveries to September. and the R1S, the SUV version, is going to come shortly after. So that one is also pushed because I think it was supposed to come also very shortly after July when the R1S delivery start. In the letter, it did comment a few things, saying that the pandemic still has an impact on them. Like a lot of things were pushed back, and it still have an impact today. The semiconductor industry is also impacting them. The big chip shortage, and a bunch of other things like that. He did mention that the team is now more than 7,000 people that work at Rivian, which is quite significant, really. He says that currently they are building a dual production line for the R1T and R1S. In the future, it's going to be just a production line for the R1T and the R1S. And they have also a separate line for the commercial Amazon delivery van. Some people were questioning maybe that Rivian is putting priority on those vans because we are seeing more of them now. Not necessarily the case. Didn't mention anything about that. He did mention that there's going to be more transparency going forward about the scheduling of the deliveries. So if you have a reservation, be on the lookout for one of those guides contacting you. And one thing that he did mention, and I think makes sense in terms of a positive impact on the delay of the deliveries, is that it's going to give them more time to build more charging stations, the Rivian Adventure Network, and also build more service centers, which you really need. Like if you're delivering the cars, you kind of have to have a service center. I mean, hopefully you don't need service, but most likely not, especially for a new car company like that. Something might happen. And he says that now he's going to be able to open more by the end of the year, and because I would expect them not to deliver cars in markets where there's no service center just yet. Though it didn't stop Tesla to do that early on either, so who knows?
Yeah, it's been kind of a long wait for trucks. Like Rivian was going to be the first, and Tesla was supposed to be at the end of this year. We're waiting for Ford now. I mean, yeah. What if GM was the first one to deliver a truck?
Well, that's what I was thinking today, because you remember when the betting site started making the HUDs for the race to the first electric pickup truck? Actually, they did that on my suggestion too. Like they kept asking me, like, we like the Elon space. So they kept making like bets on Elon things, and they're like, do you have any suggestion? I'm like, there's like, if you want to bet on something, races are very popular to bet on, and there's actually a race to bring the first electric pickup truck. And I was shocked by the odds that they came up with, because I thought they were like very good. Like they were pretty much exactly what I would do. And the Rivian also had the best odds. They were the leader in well, I mean, I shouldn't say the best odds. Like they were the most likely to come first. They were giving you the worst odds. Like if you bet on Rivian, you would get less money than if you bet on Tesla, right, to bring the Cybertruck on market, because they thought they would come after. But now, talking September, and GM, we know GM, the founder, is the first edition, I think they call it. First edition of the GMC Hummer.
Yep.
We know that's going to be low volume. It's $130,000 or $120,000 truck or something like that. So, but first delivery to customers is the first delivery to customers. So even if they deliver like 20 of them this year, it's still 20, and it's getting close to that. I think if it's in September, it's still Rivian. But if there's any more delays, I think GM takes the lead.
I feel like GM sold their first Hummer for like $1 million or something. There's some kind of charity thing.
The first one, the very first one. Yeah.
Right. So that might be the first electric consumer truck out on the market.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, if it's the 2022 version, normally I think it's like October that they come out, probably.
Right. Yeah. That's assuming no delays from GM, which is having some issues itself right now.
Yeah, because it's not just building a few. Like RJ actually mentioned that in the letter. Like we've seen a ton of production validation units on the road testing and everything. He's like, yeah, but we're not gonna deliver those. We keep them because we are learning a lot from them, and that will help the consumer product. But GM could just do the same thing and just deliver a few of those. But at the same time, it's not just that. You need to get like EPA approval for it. You need to get all the regulatory approval to deliver the vehicle. All right, another big news this week, Electrify America. So we talked about them last week about they were talking about this billion investment that they were looking for, adding another investor other than Volkswagen, and that would result in acceleration of their deployment of charging station in the U.S. And no, not working. And today they announced that they call it the Boost plan, and it's a doubling of the number of charging stations they plan to deploy in the US and Canada by 2025 to now 10,000 chargers at 1,800 fast charging stations. So it's a doubling of what they previously were talking about deploying with their original $2 billion investment that they were forced to do through their EPA and CARB settlement over the Dieselgate scandal. So now, I mean, we always saw it coming. Like when that was done, like we said, yeah, they're gonna spend the $2 billion that they have to, but then they're gonna end up with just a great business of charging electric vehicles. So why not just keep going at that point if you already made a $2 billion investment? And it's exactly what they're doing right now with this Boost plan. But they didn't announce any partner in it. So that's was a rumor last week we discussed. I don't remember. Yeah. But it seemed like a likely one. So here you see just a little update of the map. So the Midwest and the Northeast, the north of the U.S. is getting a lot more. The Trans-Canadian Highway is being built. So previously, like the station were mostly like on the East Coast and the West Coast of Canada. Now you have a complete link to it. So good stuff.
Yes, somebody in the comments, Dan Oberst, says, might Rivian be a possible buyer of Electrify America chargers? I mean, we know Rivian's doing their own thing, but maybe they're going to outsource to them. Could be. We don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the rumor in particular was looking for $1 billion partner. So I don't know if Rivian wants to spend $1 billion on that. They right. do have a lot of money. Of course, they've been great at raising money, but
they got that Amazon money.
Yeah. Big time money. All right. That was a weird one. So we discussed last week the another GM Chevy Bolt EV fire in Vermont, and we kind of put a little pressure on GM with that to like look, your fix for it, or how you're handling the situation is far from ideal. Like it's not looking good right now. We don't like to say that the electric cars are a higher percentage of sorry, a higher chance of catching on fire than a vehicle that has a tank full of inflammable product in it. But in this case, if you look at the actual number of bolts on the road and the number of fires that's happening, it's starting to look pretty bad. And GM is like, they have their software fix, and then they're like, we limit the battery pack capacity, and we look for a possible thermal runaway event. It's like this. It doesn't look like a great solution when things like that here are happening, like literally car like melting on themselves.
Yeah, after applying the software fix.
Then you have like a company like Hyundai that is in a similar situation, though they do claim, and by they I mean GM, that they don't have the same problem with the battery pack, and Hyundai is straight up replacing those battery packs. Which is a lot more proactive than what GM is doing here. And now to put the cherry on the sundae, they released this week an update saying that the out of an abundance of caution, which I would have removed that from that comment, by the way, we are asking owners of 2017 to 2019 Chevy Bolt EVs. We are part of the recall population, which is almost all of those owners, except for the later 2019 ones. I mean, how many? Like 65,000 of them or something. It's not just a few of them. Like most of those Chevy Bolt 2017, 2019 owners who were part of the recall, that's them, to park their vehicle outdoors immediately after charging and not to leave their vehicle charging overnight while we investigate these incidents. So they are literally removing the main advantage of having an electric car, which is overnight charging, and they are telling you cannot park it in your garage after charging. Like, what the hell? Like that? This is no solution whatsoever. Especially after you guys were talking about this is fixed now. We're gonna detect if there's a runaway event, and and that's it. So this is really embarrassing stuff from GM, I think, on that front.
Yeah, for sure. And Hyundai, I believe 2/3 of the cost of the replacement batteries are coming from LG. I wonder if there's something about the agreement with GM and LG, or the fact that GM is building a huge battery plant with LG that makes them less likely or less,
Yeah. Yeah, we discussed that they are not in the same situation because of that partnership over Ultium. But
right.
here's my thinking: like the Bolt is dead at this point. There's the 2022 version, sure, but even that is not that exciting because it's the whole technology in terms of powertrain. There's no big upgrade on that front. It's more a design thing. Like obviously GM is putting all their money on the Ultium platform and everything. So the Bolt is not going to be a moneymaker for them in the short term. Like that. It's just going to leave a bad taste going
Yeah.
into the Ultium generation. Which I mean, I'm hyped about a lot of GM's electrification plan on that front. Like the Lyric, it looks amazing. I mean, the Hummer EV is not for everyone, but still, a Silverado could be very cool. The electric Silverado. There's a lot of things I'm excited for GM on that front. But then if they just like leave the previous generation on that note, like, oh well, all these Chevy Bolt owners are basically screwed with that. It's not a good idea. So replace all those battery pack and be done with it. Like hit the bullet and eat the bullet, and that's it. I feel like.
Yep.
I think we're all in agreement on that, except for GM.
Right.
All right, Porsche. Great news from Porsche. You remember way back before they started delivering them, like they were like, "Ah, we're seeing strong demand for the Taycan," and we even starting to think about that we're gonna need to produce like 40,000 of them per year, which is huge for Porsche. Like they don't have many like high volume program, especially not for non SUVs like the Cayenne and the Macan can have decent numbers, but other than that, they don't. 40,000 units is a lot for them. And now they announced today that they are actually on pace for 40,000 units this year, just 2 years into the vehicle program being on the market. They delivered 19,822 Taycans during the first half of the year. That's basically as many as the 911 and a lot more than the 13,000 Panamera that they delivered, which is the closest competitor in their own lineup. So the Taycan is becoming like a staple of Porsche's lineup, and only their SUVs are bigger vehicle program. Well, I mean, technically the 911 by a little bit, but in terms like of major difference, only the Macan and the Cayenne, which are at 44 and 43,000 units so far this year, so significantly bigger. But again, the SUVs are just so popular these days. It's not fair. With the Cross Turismo, though, again, it's not an SUV; it's a wagon, but it could help.
Yeah. So Porsche told me when I got a chance to review the Cross Turismo that they were like, this one's going to really sell a lot more than even the regular Taycan. So I think a lot of the growth there is from the Cross Turismo, which is, it goes off road. It's a little bit bigger.
In Europe, you think, or was that the US team that told you that?
The US team told me that. So I don't know. I don't know if that's what that is. Also,
because wagons are super popular in Europe, but we don't see them that much here.
Right. Well, it's kind of like a flat SUV. Also, the Panamera is the only Porsche that's like falling in price. So we know that Porsche is kind of cannibalizing its own product with the electric version, which is what you need to do. Like these companies that are like, well, we don't want to stop selling gas cars because that's where we make our money. If you don't cannibalize your product, somebody else is going to cannibalize your product.
Yeah, but actually the Panamera is up 6% during the first half of the year, but that's after the Taycan already did a lot of damage last year, and then there was also the pandemic that was very hurtful, that hurt the sales a lot last year. So the 6% is not that big of a deal this quarter. I would still assume that the Taycan is, like you said, cannibalizing a lot of sales from the Panamera. All right, last piece of news here. Jeez, I couldn't believe it. I got a press release from Ford on this yesterday, and I read it. And I was like, "Is this April Fool? Did I just travel in time to April 1st, 2020?"
Somebody's huffing gas here.
Yeah. So they released this press release where they announced that they created this scent, this fragrance, this perfume that is meant to not really smell like petrol, but to remind you of the smell of petrol. And you probably asking, Fred, why would they do that? And they did that because they have this survey, which I have some doubt around the validity of the survey. They didn't release any of the methodology behind the survey like that. They just released a few data points from it. But they said that from their survey, they found out that 1 in 5 drivers, so 20% of the driving population surveyed, is gonna the smell of petrol is gonna be the number one thing that they're gonna miss from a gas powered vehicle. I mean, to be fair, I don't see like a huge list of things that you would miss from a gas powered cars, but I certainly wouldn't think that the smell of petrol would be on top of that list, and that's apparently what it is for 20% of the population, or at least the population that they surveyed. I will really want to know who they surveyed on that thing. But anyway, and not only that, not only 1 in 5, so 20%, 70% of the people surveyed said that while it wouldn't be the number one thing that they miss, they wouldn't miss it to 1 degree. So a majority of them said that they would miss the smell of gas. And
Crazy.
look, I've heard that before. I've heard people like, oh, I like burning rubber, the smell of burning rubber. I like the smell of gas, like a lot of petrol head. I mean, sure, okay, I can get to the degree some of the appeal of it, because smell is associated to memories and things like that. So like, the first time that your dad brought you to the racetrack and whatever, like it brings it back. Like I can understand all that, but the majority of people, as that, like I would think that it would be like a small minority. Anyway, so if you give me, like, I'm an executive at Ford and you bring me back the result of these survey, my first response is like, all right, so we just surveyed a bunch of morons or whatever. Like, let's be more politically correct, but they probably would be. And let's move on and let's make our electric vehicle the best it can be, and they will change their mind eventually. But no, the executive at Ford was like, all right, that cannot be good. Our electric cars need to smell like petrol now. And they hired this fragrance consultancy firm called Oil Fiction, and they created this smell that they cleverly call Mac O, like a eau de cologne, but with the Mac E as a play on word. Very clever, as much as almost as clever as actually making that happen. And look at the whatever what you call it, how it comes in. But anyway, and they didn't say they say it doesn't smell like petrol. They said the new scent is designed to help usher these drivers into the future of driving to their sense of smells, rather than just smelling like petrol. Though Mac Ho is designed to please the nose of any wearer, a high-end fragrance that fuses smoky accords, aspect of rubber, and then an animal element to give a nod to the Mustang heritage.
Wait, animal smell to
Yeah.
like horse poop? What is the?
I would assume more leather, like Mustangs. Most often than not, they are like leather, but I don't know. But here's the thing: like now they're talking about, okay, we created that to ease the transition to electric vehicles for those drivers that like the smell of petrol. But then they said they created it and they debuted it at the Goodwood Speed event in London, not in London, in England, and but they're not selling it. They said they created it and they made this marketing around it, but they're not selling it. Because at first, when I was reading this and my mind was blown that it was happening, I thought, because as you know, a lot of premium automakers now, they have this what do you call it? I put it in there. the scent diffuser inside the car, and you have this little cartouche that you buy and you put in the car, and then you have different smells that the car can push on you. The e-tron has that, or at least the European version of it has it, and a bunch of luxury vehicles have that now. So I thought that was it. I thought that was what was it trying to do, but no. What they were doing is at Goodwood, they brought a Mackie GT there, and people that were like getting in the car to look at it and everything, they were giving them this little like plastic thing that they put the scent on, so they can smell the petrol scent or whatever it is while they check out the car, which is crazy. Let's be honest.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
If I smelled gas in a Mach-E, I would think that there's some sort of leak or spill or something.
Yeah, someone like at the lawnmower, like went to the gas station to bring the lawnmower,
right?
And then it's still in the back, yeah, something like that. It's yeah. I think Ford could use to have their priority in the. Oh, it's the Mac GT too, because they put a GT on it. Oh, it's just nonsense. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I was thinking of reaching out to the product like person behind it and everything, like what is happening in your office right now? But all right, I won't be a dickhead. Okay, let's jump into the comment section because we're done with the news item right now.
All right. Daniel Mitchell asks, I hope the Rivian puts pressure on Tesla to release a smaller Cybertruck. The existing design is quite wide, making it an electron guzzler. Now Rivian is delayed. Sigh.
Is their ONT much smaller than the Cybertruck though? I wasn't aware of how much smaller it is. Not that it's necessarily what he's implying there, but I think so.
Yeah, just narrower maybe. I don't know.
I mean, Elon did say that. Elon did say that they are not going to make the Cybertruck smaller. They're going to stick with the version basically the same that was unveiled. But he said that it could be a possibility in the future to have not necessarily a smaller Cybertruck, but a smaller pickup truck. I mean, I think there's definitely a market for it. Like we're going to see what's happening with the Maverick right now from Ford. It's a popular truck. It's a gasoline truck, of course, but still.
All right. Luke Miller says, hi again from Montreal. What are your thoughts on the future of pay with PlugShare now that EVgo and are involved? Plug and charge competitor, ?
Yeah, I wasn't. So he's referencing the fact that EVgo bought a Recargo, which is the company behind PlugShare. To be honest, I only use PlugShare as like just a kind of a Yelp of charging station. I've never. Yeah. They do have a payment system on there, but I've never used that. Were you even aware of that, or did you ever use that from PlugShare?
I was aware of it. I've never used it. It was kind of like one of those things they were trying to kind of, bring
revenue.
All these things together. I don't know if that's going to continue because EVgo's got their own payment system and nobody else is going to sign up with PlugShare now that they're part of EVgo. So I don't know if that's going to continue on. We had the same questions that everybody else in the comments of that post had, which was, we love PlugShare because it was neutral. Now it's not going to be neutral. Like, how are they going to treat Electrify America the same as EVgo when they're owned by EVgo? And whether it's the comments, they're going to, the ratings, whatever. They came back, CEO of Recargo and EVgo both said, no, we're just going to leave it alone. It's going to be fine. So we'll see how it goes.
Is Electrek going to have to do our own Yelp of charging station in response? We'll see.
Oh, yeah. So there is already a open charging. I think it's called Open Charge Network or something. I looked at it a little bit. It doesn't have nearly as many as reviews, so it's not quite as Yelp friendly, but it's called Open. So maybe it's open source or something. I don't know. All right. Jonathan DeVito says, thanks for all you do, guys. Small cars in the FSD beta visualizations look unique, like cross between a Cybertruck and a Roadster. Maybe an early design concept for the 25K Tesla Easter egg.
That's a good one. Yeah, a lot of people do that when Tesla updates their car renders. Not impossible, but I have my doubts.
Yeah. Be a Nice says, ugliest car ever, the Pacer, when we were talking about the unique mobility Electrek.
Yeah, so why not buy the shirt? You get the ugliest car ever, basically right in the middle.
Right. Can we please start it? Jonathan Hart says, "Can we please start a petition for Tesla to keep door handles on the Cybertruck?"
Look, I have a 2016 Model X that do have the self-presenting doors, and it works perfectly fine. To be honest, like I've never had a problem with them. And look, at the end of the day, the door, like it pops open, and then you like you can close it yourself or open it yourself from the inside. So it's not that big of a deal. It's much like the Mackie, actually, like the rear door. They also don't have any handles on them. It's just like you pull it from the sides. It's the same thing. It's not that big of a deal. I surely will not start a petition for it.
All right. Jay Hill says there are almost no YouTube videos or news stories regarding the Tesla Model S long range, not the Plaid. So are they delivering many to customers? I think that might be a combination of not delivering many to customers, and also it's not really that exciting compared to the Plaid.
Yeah, exactly. But to answer his question, they are delivering some. I think they started more with like the people that have like the higher end configuration. Like if you put like the bigger tires on them and things like that, that's where they focused on, just for like gross margin reasons. So there's not many like 80,000 version of it delivered, or now 85,000 now that they changed the price. But it's gonna come. It's just for videos and news stories on them, though. There's just not much to talk, because everything that's in there is in the Plaid that everyone is talking about. Is just like more efficient, longer range, and that's about it.
All right. So Jeffrey Koss says, do you foresee older V2 supercharger stations getting upgraded to V3s?
No, well, not until there's any issues with them and they need to replace them. I think that's the strategy so far has been mostly to add to the network than to replace, because it's just more efficient that way. There's just you had more chargers, but yeah, but though if there's any problem with the station, then yes, you just replace them with the newer ones, and that makes more sense.
All right, Richard Stallman, which I don't know if that's his real account, but he's a big Linux guy, new Linux. All right, I'd like to interject for a moment. What you're referring to as Linux is in fact new Linux, or as I've recently taken to call it, new plus Linux. All right, so that's just a clarification, I guess.
Were we talking about Linux or there?
We might have mentioned it. I don't know. Maybe that's a bot. Like we said Linux once, and here we go. All right, we're talking about. Let's see. Maybe I'll move down. Salute, Fred, and hi, Seth. Thanks for all the news you are airing every week. Do you have any about the Giga Berlin factory?
I know that the people that are like they keep getting challenged in court by those environmentalist group over a bunch of different issues at the plant, and the kept going to higher court and everything. And the latest news is that it got shut down again. So that's a good news for Tesla moving forward. But they still don't have final approval over production. So that's what they're waiting for right now, as they keep using just more specific authorization to keep adding to their production capacity at the plant, and to, of course, the construction of the battery factory too. But yeah, so there's still no clear sign of when it could start. As we reported a few months back, there was a report that Elon told the team that he sees production more starting towards the end of the year or early next year, like in January, around that time. But yeah, it's obviously delayed. The original target was July. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. And I would maybe even think that Texas is going to start before Berlin at this point.
All right. Ian Michael Smith, you might remember from last time, had a 2013 Tesla Model S 60, which I also had. And it had a battery failure. I mean, this is 8 years later. They've offered us a courtesy 25% discount on the $23,000 replacement. That's a lot of money for a 60 kilowatt hour battery. Also found out that the pack they're offering is refurbished. We were literally told by Devin at the Renan Service Center that most customers just get a new car before their car gets this old, and you should have factored the cost of the battery replacement into the cost of the car. So that's bad customer service. What I would say is, hey, use this opportunity to try to get a bigger battery pack. Try to get an 85 or 90 or whatever. And then, if you're paying $20,000, but you're getting a bigger battery pack, maybe that's easier to swallow. Otherwise, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard to sell it with a non-working battery pack. I mean, there's some value in the car still for other parts, for the motors, and maybe even the battery pack itself, if someone feels like they can repair it. Um, yeah, I would maybe see with like depending on where you are based, with guys like the Electric Garage in Massachusetts with Rich Rebuild. And you have guys like Jason Huge in Carolina, in North Carolina. Then you have the guys in or South Carolina. I can't remember. I'm remembering which Carolina he's from. And there's a few guys also in California that are known to repair battery pack. Gruber, like the Gruber Group in Arizona, they have saved a few battery packs too that didn't work. So maybe try to reach out to those, but like it all depends on where you're based. I mean, if you have to like ship the car there and it's a few $1,000, it's then it becomes not a very efficient way to go about it.
All right, Jim Whitehead says, I don't know who buys a Bolt today. So, yes, that's a problem. Like we're talking about the Chevy Bolt fires. To a person like myself or Fred, we know that this is affecting the 2017 to 2019. Yeah. Theoretically, then 2020 to 2022 Bolts are safe. Like LG learned their lesson, everything's fine. However, we're a very small minority of the consumer base, and most people hear Bolt fires, and that means no more Bolts. So, I think that's a big problem. Any feelings on that, Fred?
Yeah, that's about it. I mean, there's still people that's gonna buy it because it's reflected in the price too. Like you can get them cheap, so some people will take the risk for sure.
All right, Radical.
Yeah, we'll go ahead.
All right, Radical Rick says a poll was done by two main website asking where the customer was going to either F-150 or Cybertruck, and on both sites, around 80% chose Cybertruck, and these were not Tesla fan sites either.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're talking about like a website poll, and that means absolutely nothing, because like where are people ending up on that website through what channels and anything like that? Like were they like searching for Cybertruck? Were they searching for F-150? Like you never know. So like I wouldn't put much stock in that.
Yeah. All right. Jim Whitehead says Porsche's ASP is so high they might actually make a profit on EVs. I think we were told that Porsche is making a profit on their EVs.
I mean, the Taycan is not cheap either. Right?
It's not cheap. Yeah. Green Gold says the Chevy Bolt is the most affordable EV on the market. That's true, especially the used ones, especially now. Nasavian says, just found the show, love it, picked up my first BEV last week, Model Y, couldn't imagine going back to ICE.
That's a general consensus.
Yeah. Congratulations. Hi, guys. I think we're getting close to the end here. The average pickup truck owner is not a fan of the Cybertruck. That may be true, but I think the Cybertruck is kind of expanding beyond just the average pickup truck driver. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean the price per range and functionality is just there's nothing better in the BEV world. Period. Without even looking at the pickup truck. So I think the Tesla is looking to build its own market there with that, and then siphon slowly some pickup truck buyers through that. And convert some that way, which is not a bad strategy for the people that just like the conventional looking pickup truck. You're gonna have the F-150 Lightning, a Silverado, then the Rivian is definitely more conventional looking than the Cybertruck, but I wouldn't necessarily say completely conventional looking, which I would say is also a good thing. But I mean, I'm very excited about the electric pickup truck market, including the Cybertruck. I think it has its own little spot in there that gonna grow over time.
All right. How much do you think the Model Y biodefense retrofit upgrade will cost?
is it confirmed that it's going to be a retrofit? Because that's not the Tesla way.
Yeah,
that's not the Tesla way for sure.
You just put a big filter,
like the other guy that is having to replace his battery packs. Tesla is more buy a new car. You want the new bioweapon? If buy a new car. That's the Tesla's approach.
Yeah. Tesla Green Gold. Tesla is supposedly working with Samsung and LG on 4680 battery production. I did hear that.
Yeah, we did report on that. The latest news is that they completed the cell samples that they sent back to Tesla, and now they are trying to get the contract for it.
All right. Nemo Chow says, do you have any thoughts on Canoes sedan scheduled to launch in 2023? Do you think that's too late?
Again, I'm not a big fan of Canoo. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of their first vehicle, and now the sedan looks like it's their original vehicle put in the panini press that they like press very hard on it, and then that's the new vehicle. Not a big fan of that, to be honest. It's just not. I don't get it.
All right, let's see if we can find one more here. This problem with Cybertruck's exoskeleton is that it's not a versatile platform for modification. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, what kind of modification are we talking about? I'm sure Tesla's gonna allow some things for the bed, for the what do you call it, the cover, vault, the vault. But other than that, I mean, unless he's talking about like putting a shovel in front or something like that. I don't know how the exoskeleton would be a problem with that. We're gonna have to see, but yeah, it might not be like your average work truck. That's a fair fair assessment.
Yeah, and then he continued with all this unnecessary feature creep. The Cybertruck, like rear turning wheels and self-presenting doors, expect a major price hike. We kind of expected there to be
the $40,000 one for like 250 plus mile range is like we all said when they released that, was like, what? Like makes like everyone's gonna be buying that if that's the case. Like you're gonna have like taxi services like going around in Cybertruck, because the $40,000 one with that kind of range and efficiency, like you're gonna want to have that. Like it makes no sense.
All right, that's pretty much it for the comments.
All right, thanks everyone for watching. Oh, a quick mention of the IAA coming the 6th of September. It start.
Yeah, we get on the 6th, but it opens to the public on the 7th.
7th of September in Munich. If you are around, if you are traveling there, or if you're from there, go check us out there. We're gonna have a booth at the mobility section of the conference of the show. It's going to be a lot of cool things being unveiled there. There's a rumor that the first model of Audi Artemis project, the super efficient electric car that they plan to release, is going to be first unveiled there, and a bunch of other automakers are also using that stage for some unveilings. And we're really excited about it. It's gonna be our first trip, international trip, since the whole pandemic, and the whole crew is going to, well, not the whole crew, but Seth, myself, and Micah is going to be there, and we're going to try to produce a ton of content for you guys there. A lot of bike stuff, because there's a Euro bike right before that too, so it's going to be a lot of fun. We hope to see you there first week of September. And also the Electrek shirt. If you guys want the Electrek shirt, go on Teespring, go on any Electrek article, click at the link at the bottom, and get yourself some merchandise. You can get a mug too and things like that if you're so inclined. And we're going to see you same time, same place next week. Have fun, everyone. Good weekend.